Captain Jinho Kim stared at the screen in front of him. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he didn't notice. The numbers on the display made no sense. 300 warships had just appeared at the edge of human space. They were bigger than anything he had ever seen. "Captain, they're broadcasting something," Lieutenant Mireille Park said from her station. Her voice was steady, but Jinho could hear the worry underneath. They had been friends for 10 years. He knew when she was scared. "Put it through," Jinho said. The main screen flickered. A face appeared. It was not human. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern. Its skin looked like metal, dark and smooth. When it spoke, the words came through a translator that made everything sound flat and emotionless. "Humans of Earth. We are the Velkari Empire. For 10,000 years we have prepared for this moment. Ancient texts warned us about your kind. They said you would rise and threaten all life in the galaxy, and we come to end that threat. You have 48 hours to surrender. If you do not, we will destroy every human world." The screen went black. Jinho looked around the command center of Meridian 7, the orbital station he called home. 32 people stared back at him. Some looked afraid. Others looked angry. One young ensign named Taeyang Shin looked excited, like this was an adventure instead of a nightmare. "Get me Earth Command," Jinho said quietly. While Mirai worked on the connection, Jinho thought about his sister back on Earth. She had 3 kids. They were probably in school right now learning math or history. They had no idea that alien warships were parked at their doorstep. "Sir, Earth Command is on the line," Mirai said. Admiral Bora Yoon appeared on the screen. She was older than Jinho, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles.
"Captain Kim, I assume you've seen our visitors?"
"Yes, Admiral. What are our orders?" "Hold your position. The defense fleet is mobilizing now. We'll be there in 36 hours. She paused. "Jinho, these aliens are serious. They've been watching us. They know where all our colonies are. This isn't first contact. This is an execution." The connection ended. Jinho turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. We hold position. Get the station to combat readiness. I want every weapon online and every shield at maximum." Far away on a research vessel near the colony of New Jeju, a civilian engineer named Hyun Lee was having a very bad day. His ship had been studying a strange asteroid when the Velkari appeared. Before anyone could react, a gray beam of light locked onto their hull. The ship's systems went dead. They were being pulled toward one of the massive alien warships. "What do we do?" the captain of the research vessel asked. She looked young, too young to be in charge of anything. "We don't fight," Hyun said. "We have no weapons. We go along and we watch, we learn. That's what we're good at." The alien ship swallowed their vessel whole. Hyun watched through the window as metal walls closed around them. When the doors opened, Velkari soldiers stood waiting. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, and they moved with perfect coordination. Every step was identical. Every weapon pointed at exactly the same angle. They took the crew to separate rooms. Hyun found himself alone in a cell that was too clean. Everything was gray and smooth. There were no rough edges, no imperfections. It reminded him of a computer simulation. On the Velkari command ship, Supreme Commander Thelvas studied the human prisoners through a viewing screen. They looked weak, small, fragile, not at all like the descriptions in the ancient texts. "War Master Quindara," Thelvas said, "these cannot be the humans of prophecy. Look at them. They have no natural weapons, no armor. They are soft." Quindara stepped forward. She had spent her entire life studying the prophecy. Her ancestors had studied it. For 10,000 years, her family had trained to fight humans. "The prophecy does not speak of their appearance, Commander. It speaks of their nature. It says they are unpredictable, dangerous, that they adapt and change like water. We must not underestimate them." "Water can be contained," Thelvas said. "We have prepared for every possible scenario. We have run 1 trillion simulations. In every simulation we win. The humans cannot surprise us." Back on Meridian 7, Mirai was running through the Velkari broadcast again. She had played it 40 times, looking for any detail that might help. Taeyang brought her another cup of coffee. "You should rest," the young ensign said. "Can't." "Look at this." Mirai pointed at the screen. The Velkari commander said they've been preparing for 10,000 years. That's a long time. What if they're right? What if we can't win? Taeyang smiled. It was the kind of smile that belonged on someone who had never seen real combat. My grandfather used to tell me stories about the war games he played in the academy. He said the best strategy is the one your enemy doesn't expect. The Valkyrie have spent 10,000 years preparing. That means they think they know what we'll do. So what do we do? Mirai asked. Something they haven't prepared for. Jinho was in his quarters when the alarm sounded. He ran to the command center. Mirai was already at her station. Report, Jinho said. The Valkyrie are moving. One battle group is heading toward New Jeju colony. 50 ships. Jinho pulled up the tactical display. New Jeju had maybe 5,000 people. The colony defense force was 12 ships. Old ships. Mining vessels that had been fitted with weapons during the last pirate scare 20 years ago. Get me Colonel Doyen Choi on New Jeju, Jinho ordered. The colonel appeared on screen. He was middle-aged, with scars on his face and hands that never stopped moving. He looked like he had been expecting this call. Captain Kim, Doyen said. I see them. 50 Valkyrie warships coming to crush my little colony. Colonel Admiral Yoon's fleet won't arrive in time. You need to evacuate, Doyen laughed. It was not a happy sound. Evacuate to where? Those ships will hunt us down in space. At least here we have ground to stand on. My people came to New Jeju to build something. We're not running. You'll die, Jinho said. Maybe, but we'll make them work for it. Doyen leaned closer to the camera. Captain, you know what our problem is? We think like them. We think war has rules. Formation flying. Shield walls. Tactics from books. The Valkyrie spent 10,000 years learning those rules. Well, I was never good at following rules. The connection ended. Jinho looked at Mirai. She looked back at him. They were both thinking the same thing. The Valkyrie had prepared for everything. They had run every simulation. They had studied every human battle in recorded history. But history was written by people who followed the rules. Colonel Doyen Choi didn't seem interested in rules. On the research vessel, Hyun had found something interesting. The cell they put him in was perfect. Too perfect. Every surface was exactly 90 degrees. Every seam was invisible. It was made by machines that didn't make mistakes. That gave him an idea. He pulled a small tool from his pocket. They had searched him, but they had missed the dental repair kit in his jacket. It had a tiny laser for emergency procedures. Not a weapon. Just a tool, Hyun smiled. Sometimes the best weapons weren't weapons at all. The Valkyrie armada moved through space like a machine. Every ship in perfect position. Every weapon ready. They had waited 10,000 years for this. The prophecy would be fulfilled. Humanity would fall. They had no idea they were already losing. The Valkyrie battle group approached New Jeju like a geometric pattern. 5 rows of 10 ships each, perfectly spaced. Their shields created a wall of energy that nothing could penetrate. BattlePrime Korthax stood on his command deck and watched the human colony grow larger on the screen. They have 12 ships, his tactical officer reported. Old mining vessels, minimal weapons, they cannot harm us. Maintain formation, Korthax ordered. Proceed as planned. Colonel Doyen Choi watched the Valkyrie fleet approach. His hands moved across the controls of the defense station. Around him, his officers waited for orders. They all knew they were going to die. The math was simple, 50 against 12. Advanced warships against converted mining vessels. But Doyen had learned something during his 40 years in space. Math didn't win battles, people did. Listen up, Doyen said to his fleet. The Valkyrie think they know what we're going to do. They think we'll form a defensive line. Put our best ships in front. Try to hold them off while civilians evacuate. That's what the training manuals say to do. He paused. Forget the manuals. We're going to do something stupid. On the research vessel, Hyun Lee had been working for 3 hours. The tiny laser from his dental kit was slowly cutting through the cell's wall panel. The Valkyrie had built everything perfectly. That was their mistake. When everything is perfect, you can predict how it works. He had found the power conduit behind the wall. Now he was trying to access the ship's network. The Valkyrie hadn't expected prisoners to have tools. Why would they? Humans were supposed to be primitive. His fingers worked quickly. Back on Earth, he had fixed broken mining equipment in the asteroid belt. Those machines were old and temperamental. You had to improvise. The Valkyrie technology was new and perfect, but perfection had weaknesses too. The panel came loose. Behind it, fiber optic cables glowed with data. Hyun smiled and got to work. Back at New Jeju, the battle had started. But it didn't look like any battle the Velkari had simulated. Doyen's ships scattered in 12 different directions. No formation, no coordination. It looked like panic. Korthax watched with satisfaction. The humans were running scared. "Pursue them," he ordered. "Maintain formation. Destroy them one by one." That's when the first civilian ship exploded. It was an old cargo hauler, filled with mining explosives. The crew had evacuated hours ago. Now it drifted in space, broadcasting a distress signal. When 3 Velkari ships moved to investigate, it detonated. The explosion wasn't big enough to destroy the warships, but it broke their perfect formation. Then the second cargo ship exploded, and the third, and the fourth. Korthax stared at his screen. "They're using civilians as weapons?" "The ships are empty, SciFiPrime," his officer said. "Automated." "This is not proper warfare," Korthax said. "This violates every standard combat protocol." While the Velkari tried to reorganize, Doyen's 12 ships attacked from 12 different angles. They didn't fly in formation, they didn't coordinate their strikes. Each captain fought their own battle, using whatever tactics they could think of. One ship flew straight at the Velkari, then at the last second dove under their shields and fired from below. Another used its mining laser to cut through a Velkari ship's engine section. A third activated its cargo bay doors and released thousands of pieces of scrap metal, creating a debris field that the Velkari sensors couldn't see through. Ensign Taeyang Shin sat in his fighter cockpit aboard Meridian 7. He wasn't supposed to launch. His orders were to stay on the station. But he could see the battle at New Jeju on his instruments. The Velkari were confused, but they were still winning. Doyen needed help. Taeyang made a decision. He launched without permission. Ensign Shin, return to the station immediately. Mirei's voice came through his radio. "Sorry, Lieutenant. I can't hear you. Must be interference." Taeyang smiled and pushed his fighter to maximum speed. His fighter was small and fast, the kind used for patrol duty and escorting cargo ships. It had 2 small plasma guns and shields that could barely stop a micrometeorite. Against a Velkari warship, it was like throwing rocks at a mountain. But Taeyang had an idea. His fighter had atmospheric thrusters for landing on planets. In space, they were useless. The manual said never to activate them in a vacuum. They would just waste fuel and make you spin out of control. Taeyang activated them. His fighter lurched, sideways, then spun, then accelerated in a direction that made no sense. The Velkari tracking systems tried to predict his course. They couldn't. He wasn't following any predictable pattern. He was just reacting, using the thrusters like a drunk person trying to dance. He flew straight at a Velkari warship, spinning and tumbling. Their defense systems tried to lock onto him. They couldn't track something that moved so randomly. At the last second, Taeyang fired both plasma guns and used his atmospheric thrusters to flip completely over. The shots hit the Velkari ship's bridge. It wasn't enough to destroy them, but it was enough to make them angry and confused. On the Velkari command ship, Supreme Commander Thelvis watched the battle reports with growing concern. They had lost 3 ships. 6 more were damaged. The humans should have been destroyed in the first 10 minutes. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. War Master Quindara studied the tactical display. "They're not following any doctrine. Look at their movement patterns. There is no coordination. Each ship fights independently. They're making decisions based on instinct, not training." "That's impossible," Thelvis said. "Warfare requires coordination, strategy, planning. You cannot win by being chaotic." "Tell that to them," Quindara said quietly. Hyun had finally accessed the Velkari network. The security was impressive, but it was designed to stop military hackers. People trying to break encryption and steal data. Hyun wasn't trying to hack anything. He was just looking. What he found made him cold. The Velkari network was centralized. Every ship in the fleet connected to the command vessel. Every tactical decision flowed through one system. It was efficient, perfect, and incredibly vulnerable. Hyun couldn't destroy the network. He didn't have the tools or the access, but he could see how it worked. He started recording everything he could find, storing it in his medical scanner. If he could get this information back to human space, it could change everything. The battle at New Jeju lasted 4 hours. When it ended, Doyen had lost 8 of his 12 ships. 3,000 colonists were dead. The colony's main dome was shattered. But the Velkari had lost 7 warships. 15 more were damaged badly enough that they had to retreat. Korthax couldn't believe it. They had won. The colony was destroyed. But victory was supposed to be clean. Perfect. This felt like a defeat. On Meridian 7, Jinho watched the battle reports. Mirai stood beside him. "The Velkari are confused," she said. "Look at their formation. They keep trying to reorganize, but our ships won't let them. Every time they try to create a proper battle line, someone does something unexpected." Jinho nodded slowly. "They've been training for 10,000 years. That means they've been training against themselves, against an enemy that thinks like them, that follows rules." "And we don't follow rules," Mirai said. "We can't," Jinho said. "We don't know enough to have rules. We're making this up as we go." Far away, Admiral Bora Yoon's fleet was approaching. She had been watching the battle at New Jeju. Most admirals would have been horrified by the chaos, by the lack of proper tactics, by ships breaking formation and fighting independently. Bora was smiling. She turned to her officers. "Change of plans. When we arrive, I want every ship to operate independently. No formation flying, no coordinated attacks. Each captain fights their own battle." Her tactical officer looked shocked. "Admiral, that violates every standard procedure." "Good," Bora said. "The Velkari have spent 10,000 years learning every standard procedure. Let's see how they handle when we ignore all of them." Thelvas called an emergency meeting of his war council. The ancient prophecy had warned that humans were dangerous, but this didn't make sense. Humans were winning by being disorganized, by breaking their own rules, by fighting incorrectly. "We need to adapt," Quindara said. "Run new simulations. Learn from what we've seen." "How do we simulate chaos?" another officer asked. Nobody had an answer. Admiral Bora Yoon's fleet arrived 36 hours after the Velkari first appeared. 200 ships, the pride of Earth's defense force. They emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Then Bora gave an order that made her tactical officer think she had lost her mind. "All ships break formation. Scatter. Each captain is authorized to engage the enemy as they see fit. Do not wait for orders. Do not coordinate. Just fight." The fleet scattered like seeds in the wind. The Velkari had been preparing for Earth's arrival. They had analyzed the battle at New Jeju. They had run new simulations. They expected the humans to arrive in a standard battle formation. They expected a coordinated assault. What they got was chaos. Bora's flagship, the Indomitable, flew straight toward the Velkari command ship. Her crew stared at her. "Admiral, we're heading directly into their battle line," her second officer said. "I know," Bora said calmly. "They'll destroy us." "Maybe," Bora said. "Or maybe they'll be too confused to shoot straight." On Meridian 7, Jinho watched the battle begin. Mirai was tracking ship movements, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. "Captain, the Admiral isn't following any tactical plan. Ships are attacking from random directions. There's no coordination at all." "I think that is the plan," Jinho said. A young specialist named Mina Song sat at a computer terminal nearby. She was an AI specialist, someone who programmed the computers that helped run the station. She had been studying the data that Hyun had transmitted before his capture. "Captain, I found something," Mina said. "The Velkari use a centralized command network. Every ship connects to their command vessel. It's very efficient." "Efficient is good," Jinho said. "Not if you're trying to fight chaos," Mina said. "Their system is designed to handle complex coordinated attacks, but it can't process random, independent actions very well. It keeps trying to find patterns that don't exist." Jinho looked at her. "Can you use that?" Mina smiled. "I can make it worse." The second battle was very different from the first. At New Jeju, the humans had been desperate. Now they were learning. One of Bora's captains, a woman named Isol Park, commanded a destroyer called the Relentless. She looked at the Velkari battle line and made a decision. She ordered her crew to evacuate to escape pods. "Captain, what are you doing?" her first officer asked. Something stupid, Isul said. Everyone to the pods now. The crew evacuated in 2 minutes. Isul was the last one off. She programmed the ship's autopilot with one final command, then jumped into the last escape pod. The Relentless accelerated to maximum speed and flew straight into the Valkyrie formation. The aliens tried to destroy it, but their weapons were designed to disable enemy ships, not obliterate them. They wanted to capture human technology. The destroyer crashed through their line like a hammer through glass. Its reactor went critical and detonated. The explosion created a massive debris field. Valkyrie sensors, which relied on perfect clarity, suddenly couldn't see anything. While the Valkyrie tried to regroup, 20 human ships attacked from different angles. Each one used different tactics. Some used plasma weapons. Others used old-fashioned kinetic missiles. One ship used its tractor beam to throw asteroids at the enemy. Corporal Junho Nam was a Marine aboard a boarding vessel. His ship's mission was supposed to be search and rescue. But when a damaged Valkyrie carrier drifted too close, his captain had another idea. "We're going to board them," the captain announced. Junho and his squad looked at each other. The Valkyrie were 7 feet tall. They had advanced weapons. Their ships were designed to repel boarders. "This is insane," someone muttered. "Probably," the captain agreed, "but they won't expect it." "Marines, suit up." They approached the Valkyrie carrier using debris as cover. The boarding vessel looked like just another piece of wreckage. When they were close enough, they used magnetic grapples to attach to the hull. Junho and his squad cut through the outer airlock. Inside, the Valkyrie ship was pristine, clean, organized. Everything had a place. The corridors were wide and straight, perfect for defenders to shoot down in a straight line. Junho's squad didn't move in straight lines. They used their suit thrusters to fly along the walls and ceiling. They tossed smoke grenades that filled the corridors. They played loud music through their external speakers. They shouted and laughed and made as much noise as possible. The Valkyrie soldiers tried to respond, but they had trained for organized boarding actions. Disciplined enemies advancing in formation. They hadn't trained for humans flying upside down while screaming song lyrics. Junho led his squad deeper into the ship. They weren't trying to capture it. They were just trying to cause chaos. Every system they passed, they sabotaged. Not elegantly. They just broke things, pulled wires, smashed control panels, used their weapons to shoot up anything that looked important. On the Valkyrie command ship, war analyst Prendek was having a crisis. He had spent his entire life studying human warfare. He had read every historical battle. He had run millions of simulations. Nothing had prepared him for this. "They're not fighting," he said to Supreme Commander Thelvis. "They're not following any tactical doctrine. They're just reacting. Every ship does something different. There's no pattern, no strategy." "There must be a strategy," Thelvis insisted. "Warfare requires planning, organization. They cannot win by being random." "But they are winning," Prendek said quietly. War Master Quindara stood nearby, watching the battle displays. She said nothing, but her face showed concern. For 10,000 years her people had prepared. They had created the perfect military machine. Every soldier trained to perfection, every tactic refined, every scenario planned for. But the humans weren't playing by the rules. They were writing their own rules as they went. And somehow, impossibly, it was working. On the research vessel, Hyun-Lee had finished his work. He had recorded everything he could find about the Valkyrie network. Now he needed to escape. The problem was he was still in a cell on an alien warship in the middle of a battle. The ship shook as weapons fire hit the hull. Alarms started blaring. Hyun heard Valkyrie voices shouting in their language. Something was going wrong for them. That was good. He used the panel he had removed to wedge open the cell door. The corridor outside was empty. The guards had gone to deal with whatever emergency was happening. Hyun ran. He didn't know where he was going. He just followed the signs that looked like they might lead to a hangar bay. The ship shook again. Sparks flew from damaged systems. The perfect ship was breaking. Hyun found the hangar. There were small craft there, probably shuttles. He jumped into the nearest one and started pressing buttons. Valkyrie technology was different from human technology, but some things were universal. Power, flight controls, weapons, doors. The hangar doors opened. Hyun's stolen shuttle flew out into space, weaving through the battle. Valkyrie ships tried to stop him, but they were busy dealing with Admiral Bora's fleet. One small shuttle wasn't a priority. Back on Meridian 7, Mina Song had created something special. It was a computer virus, but not the kind that destroyed systems. This one did something more subtle. I can't break into their network, she told Jinho. Their security is too good, but I can flood their sensors with false data. Their system will try to process it. It will try to find patterns and make predictions, but the data will be random, meaningless. Their AI will waste processing power trying to understand chaos. Will it work? Jinho asked. Only one way to find out, Mina said. She launched her virus through a tight beam transmission. It looked like a damaged emergency beacon. The Valkyrie system, designed to analyze all information, automatically captured it. The virus spread through their network like fog. Suddenly, every Valkyrie ship started receiving contradictory sensor data. Their tactical displays showed human ships in positions they couldn't possibly be. Their AI predicted attacks that never came. Their weapons targeted ghosts. The perfect machine started to stutter. Admiral Bora saw the Valkyrie formation waver. She didn't know why, but she knew an opportunity when she saw one. She opened a channel to all human ships, all vessels, full assault. Hit them with everything. The humans attacked from every direction. No coordination. No formation. Just 200 ships fighting 200 different battles. The Valkyrie tried to respond, but their command network was overwhelmed. They kept waiting for orders from the command ship. But the command ship was trying to process too much information at once. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the Valkyrie had lost 30 ships. The humans had lost 40. By numbers, it was close, but everyone knew the truth. The Valkyrie had just lost their second battle. Their 10,000 years of training were failing them, and they didn't know how to fix it. Thelvas stood on his bridge staring at the tactical display. His perfect armada was damaged, confused, defeated. How? He whispered. Nobody had an answer. In the distance, a small shuttle approached Meridian 7. Inside, Hyun Lee smiled. He had the data that could end this war. He just needed to get home. Hyun Lee's stolen shuttle was met by 3 human fighters as it approached Meridian 7. Ensign Taeyang Shin was flying one of them. He had been expecting Valkyrie attackers, not a lone shuttle broadcasting human identification codes in broken binary. This is Taeyang Shin to unknown shuttle. Identify yourself. This is Hyun Lee, civilian engineer. I escaped from a Valkyrie research vessel. I have important information. Please don't shoot me. Taeyang laughed. Copy that. Welcome home, Hyun. When Hyun docked at Meridian 7, Jinho and Mirai were waiting for him. He looked terrible. His clothes were torn. He had burns on his hands from working with alien systems, but he was smiling. Captain Kim, I need to show you something, Hyun said. He held up his medical scanner. I mapped their entire command network. Every ship in their fleet connects to the command vessel. If we can disrupt that connection, we can paralyze their entire armada. Mina Song took the scanner and started downloading the data. Her eyes went wide as she read through it. This is incredible, she said. Their system is even more centralized than I thought. It's like one brain controlling hundreds of bodies. Very efficient, but if you cut the connection, the bodies stop moving, Jinho finished. Across the battle zone, the Valkyrie were having problems. Supreme Commander Thelvas had called an emergency council meeting. His war masters and battle primes gathered in the command chamber. They all looked worried. We are losing, war analyst Prendick said. He was young for his rank, but he was also honest. Not because the humans are stronger, but because we cannot predict them. Every simulation we run is useless. They do not follow logical patterns. Then we adapt, Thelvas said. We run new simulations. We learn from their tactics. How do we simulate randomness? Another officer asked. How do we prepare for an enemy that has no strategy? War Master Quindara had been quiet during the meeting. Now she spoke. I have studied the prophecy my entire life. My family has guarded it for generations. I think we misunderstood it. Everyone turned to look at her. The prophecy warned us that humans were dangerous. We assumed it meant they were powerful warriors, but I think it meant something else. They are dangerous because they cannot be understood. They fight with emotion, not logic. With creativity, not doctrine. We built an army designed to fight ourselves, and humans are nothing like us. So what do we do? Thelvas demanded. Quindara looked at the tactical display where human ships moved in patterns that made no sense. I do not know. Admiral Bora Yoon was planning her next move. She had 300 ships now. More were arriving every day. Earth was taking the Velkari threat seriously. The problem was the Velkari still had more ships, and their technology was better. If this turned into a straight fight, humanity would lose. So Bora had no intention of fighting straight. She called a meeting of her captains. 50 commanders appeared on her screens, broadcasting from their ships across the battle zone. They all looked tired, excited, a little crazy. People, we're winning, Bora said. Not because we're better, but because we're confusing them. They keep waiting for us to organize, to create formations, to fight properly. We need to keep being improper. One captain raised his hand. Admiral, request permission to try something really stupid. Bora smiled. Granted. What is it? I want to fly my ship into a nebula near here. The Velkari sensors don't work well in nebulas. Their shields are optimized for energy weapons. But in a nebula, we'd have to fight with old-fashioned kinetic weapons. Close range. Visual targeting. That's insane, another captain said. We'd be flying blind too. Yeah, the first captain agreed. But we're better at flying blind. They need their sensors. They need their AI, we just need our eyes and our guts. Bora thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. Do it, take 20 ships. Lead them into the nebula. Let's see if the Velkari follow. Colonel Doyun Choi was rebuilding New Jeju. The colony was damaged but not destroyed. People were coming back, cleaning up, fixing things. Humans were good at fixing things. A Velkari battle group was approaching. 30 ships. They had come to finish what they started. Doyun watched them on his sensors and made a call to Admiral Bora. Admiral, I have Velkari incoming. 30 ships, and can you hold them? Bora asked. No, Doyun said honestly, but I can make them regret coming. How long do you need? 4 hours. You've got it. Doyun only had 4 ships left from the last battle, but he also had 5,000 angry colonists who had just watched their homes get destroyed. He put out a call. Anyone who can fly, meet me at the spaceport. Anyone who can shoot, bring your tools. We're going hunting. An hour later, Doyun had 27 civilian ships, cargo haulers, personal transports, even a few mining drones, nothing military, nothing designed for combat, just regular people who were tired of being scared. The Velkari arrived expecting to find a defenseless colony. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by civilian ships that fought like angry hornets. The ships were slow, poorly armed, but there were so many of them, and they didn't fight fair. One cargo hauler flew straight at a Velkari warship, then dumped its entire cargo hold of mining equipment. Thousands of pieces of metal created a debris field. A personal transport used its emergency flares to blind Velkari sensors. Mining drones designed to dig into asteroids attached themselves to Velkari hulls and started drilling. The Velkari destroyed most of the civilian ships. But it took time, and Doyun made every second count. In the nebula, the human ships waited. The environment was thick with gas and dust. Sensors were almost useless. The Velkari battle group followed them in, confident in their technology. That confidence lasted about 10 minutes. Human ships attacked from every direction, using weapons the Velkari hadn't seen in centuries. Magnetic harpoons, chemical explosives, simple kinetic projectiles fired from railguns. The Velkari shields optimized for energy weapons barely stopped them. The battle turned into a brawl. Ships flew within meters of each other, firing at point-blank range. Human pilots used their eyes and instincts. They flew like they were driving cars in traffic, not warships in combat. The Velkari ships, controlled by perfect AI and rigid tactics, couldn't adapt. They kept trying to form up, to create proper battle formations. But in the chaos of the nebula, formation flying was impossible. When the battle ended, 12 Velkari ships were destroyed. The humans had lost 8. But the survivors had learned something important. In close combat, human pilots were better. They could react faster, think more creatively, trust their instincts over their instruments. Back on Meridian 7, Minasong had been working non-stop for 3 days. She had used Hyun's data to create something new. Not a virus this time, something better. I can't shut down their network, she told Jinho, but I can overload it. Their command ship processes all tactical data from every ship in the fleet. If I feed it too much information, too many contradictory reports, it will freeze. The AI will get stuck trying to analyze everything. It's like giving someone so many choices that they can't make any decision. How long will it last? Jinho asked. Maybe 5 minutes. Maybe less. Their system will eventually reset and filter out the bad data. But for those 5 minutes, every Velkari ship will be waiting for orders that never come. Jinho looked at Mirai. 5 minutes. Can we win a battle in 5 minutes? Against any normal enemy? No, Mirai said. Against the Velkari? Maybe. They rely on their command network. Without it, they'll be paralyzed. Jinho made a decision.
Get me Admiral Bora, tell her we have a weapon.
1 shot, 5 minutes. We need to make it count. On the Velkari command ship, Thelvis was receiving bad news. His forces had lost another 20 ships. More were damaged. Worse, his soldiers were afraid. The mighty Velkari Empire, which had never known defeat, was losing to a species that barely had space travel 1,000 years ago. We need to change tactics, Prendek said. The current approach is not working. No, Thelvis said. His voice was hard, desperate. We have prepared for 10,000 years. The prophecy cannot be wrong. We will attack Earth directly. We will destroy their homeworld. Then they will surrender. Quindara looked at him. Commander, that is suicide. Earth is heavily defended. We will lose most of our fleet. Then we lose our fleet with honor, Thelvis said. Better to die following the prophecy than to live in shame. The orders went out. The Velkari Armada would attack Earth, every ship. One final battle. Victory or death. When the humans learned of the plan, Admiral Bora smiled. It was not a kind smile. They're coming straight at us. No tricks, no strategy. Just a direct assault. Finally, they're fighting on our terms. Our terms are chaos, someone said. Exactly, Bora replied. The Velkari Armada approached Earth in perfect formation. 400 warships arranged in a geometric pattern that had been refined over 10,000 years. Every ship knew its position. Every weapon was ready. Every soldier prepared to fulfill the ancient prophecy. Supreme Commander Thelva stood on the bridge of his command ship and watched Earth grow larger on the screen. It was a blue and green world, beautiful in a way that made him uncomfortable. It didn't look like the home of a dangerous species. It looked peaceful. All ships maintain formation, he ordered. Prepare for final assault. On Earth, people watched the sky. They could see the Velkari fleet with their naked eyes. Hundreds of lights moving in perfect synchronization. It looked like a constellation coming to life. Children pointed. Adults prayed. Everyone wondered if they would survive the day. Admiral Bora Yoon stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense network. Around her, 1,000 people worked at their stations. Every available ship had been called back. Every weapon platform activated. Every defense satellite armed. She opened a channel to all human forces. Every ship, every station, every soldier, people of Earth. Today we face an enemy that has trained for 10,000 years to destroy us. They have better ships, better weapons, better technology. By every logical measure we should lose, she paused. But we're not going to lose, because we have something they don't. We have chaos. We have creativity. We have the ability to look at impossible situations and say, let's try something stupid. So here's the plan. There is no plan. Every ship fights independently. Every captain makes their own decisions. Every soldier trusts their instincts. We don't fight like an army. We fight like a storm. Jinho listened to the Admiral's speech from Meridian 7. Beside him, Mirai was ready at her station. Mina Song had her finger over the button that would launch their weapon. Yun Li stood nearby, having refused to evacuate to safety. Taeyang Shin was in his fighter, engines warm and ready. Mina, how long until we can use your weapon? Jinho asked. The Velkari are still too far apart. I need them closer together. The signal has to reach their command ship and spread through the network. Give me 10 more minutes. We might not have 10 minutes, Mirai said. Then we better survive for 10 minutes, Jinho replied. The Velkari reached Earth's orbit. They expected the humans to form a defensive sphere around the planet. Standard tactics predictable. They were ready for it instead. Every human ship charged straight at them. 300 human vessels, ranging from military destroyers to armed civilian transports, flew directly into the Velkari formation. No coordination, no hesitation, just pure aggressive chaos. The Velkari formation wavered. This wasn't in the simulations. The humans were supposed to defend. Instead, they were attacking. The Velkari opened fire, destroying dozens of human ships. But the humans kept coming. Taeyang Shin flew his fighter through a gap between 2 Velkari warships. He was using his atmospheric thrusters again, making his ship tumble and spin in patterns that made no sense. A Velkari pilot tried to follow him. Couldn't. Taiyang looped around and fired at the warship's engine. Colonel Doyen Choi had left New Jeju. He commanded a small fleet of colony ships, all volunteering for Earth's defense. His ship, an old cargo hauler called the Second Chance, flew straight toward the Velkari command vessel. He knew he wouldn't reach it. But he could try. Velkari weapons fire tore through his shields. His hull started to breach. He kept flying. Corporal Junho Nam and his Marine squad were aboard a boarding vessel again. Their captain had found another damaged Velkari ship. They attached to the hull and cut their way in. This time, the Velkari were ready for them. Soldiers waited in the corridors. The humans played music through their external speakers. Loud, chaotic music. They shouted challenges in languages the Velkari didn't understand. They threw smoke grenades and used their thrusters to fly in impossible directions. The Velkari soldiers, trained for orderly combat, broke formation, started firing randomly, hit each other. Junho's squad went deeper into the ship, breaking everything they could find. On the command ship, Thelvas was screaming orders. But the battle was chaos. His perfect formation had collapsed. Human ships were everywhere, fighting independently, unpredictably. His tactical AI was trying to track 300 different threats at once. "Sir, we need to pull back and reorganize," an officer said. "No," Thelvas said. "We push forward. We destroy their orbital platforms. We bombard the planet. The prophecy will be fulfilled." War Master Quindara watched the tactical display. They were winning. The humans were losing more ships, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like drowning in an ocean of chaos. On Meridian 7, Mina Song looked at her screen. The Velkari fleet was finally close enough. Their ships were trying to push toward Earth's surface. The command vessel was in the center, surrounded by its fleet. "Perfect." "Captain, I'm ready," Mina said. Jinho took a deep breath. "Do it." Mina pressed the button. The weapon wasn't a missile or a bomb. It was just information. False data that looked real. Sensor readings that made no sense. Reports of attacks that weren't happening. Predictions that contradicted each other. All of it flooded into the Velkari command network at once. The Velkari command ship's AI tried to process it all. Tried to find patterns. Tried to make sense of the chaos. It couldn't. The system froze, overwhelmed by impossible information. Every Velkari ship suddenly stopped receiving orders. For 4 minutes and 37 seconds, the mighty Velkari armada was blind and deaf and paralyzed. 400 warships floating in space waiting for commands that would never come. Admiral Bora saw it happen. Every Velkari ship suddenly stopped moving. Stopped shooting. Just floated there. She didn't waste time wondering why. She just acted. All ships full assault. Hit them now. Everything you have. The human forces already in close range opened fire. Plasma weapons, missiles, kinetic projectiles, even old-fashioned explosives. Every weapon that could hurt the Velkari they used. The Velkari shields were strong, but they had been designed for coordinated defense. The ships were supposed to support each other, cover each other's weak points, but with their command network down, each ship fought alone, and they didn't know how Jinho watched from Meridian 7 as the battle turned into a massacre, not of humans, of Velkari. In less than 5 minutes, 70 Velkari warships were destroyed. 100 more were damaged. The perfect armada was broken. When the command network finally reset, when the Velkari ships could receive orders again, it was too late. Their formation was gone. Their advantage was lost. And their supreme commander's ship was crippled. Thelvas stood on his ruined bridge, surrounded by sparking consoles and wounded crew. Through the window he could see Earth, still intact, still blue and green and beautiful. Still alive, he had failed. 10,000 years of preparation. Gone. Defeated in minutes by a species that didn't even follow the rules of warfare. "All ships," he began. Then he stopped. What could he say? Retreat? They had come to fulfill a prophecy. Attack? They were already beaten. He had no orders left to give. War Master Quindara's voice came through the emergency channel. Her ship was damaged but functional. "Commander Thelvas is incapacitated. I'm assuming command. All Velkari vessels cease fire. Withdraw to rally point 7. We are done. We cannot retreat," an officer protested. The prophecy was wrong," Quindara said. "Or we misunderstood it." Either way, if we continue, we will all die. Is that what you want? To throw away 10,000 years of civilization for pride? Nobody answered. All ships withdraw, Quindara ordered. The Velkari armada turned and fled. On Earth, people watched the alien lights retreat. They didn't cheer at first. They just stared, unable to believe it was over. Then slowly the celebrations began. People hugged strangers, cried, laughed, danced in the streets. Admiral Bora slumped in her chair. Her tactical officer approached carefully. Admiral, we won. I know, Bora said. How? I don't know, the officer admitted. They had better ships. Better training. Better everything. By all logic, they should have won. Bora smiled tiredly. Logic, that was their problem. They used logic. We used hope. And creativity. And stubbornness. And a little bit of insanity. On Meridian 7, Jinho's crew was celebrating. Hyun was shaking hands with everyone. Mina was crying happy tears. Taeyang had returned to the station and was being mobbed by his fellow pilots. Mirai stood beside Jinho watching the crew. We actually did it, she said quietly. We beat an empire that spent 10,000 years preparing to fight us. We didn't beat them, Jinho said. We confused them. There's a difference. They were ready for warriors. For soldiers. For enemies that followed rules. We just refused to play the game the way they expected. 3 months later, War Master Quindara came to Earth. Not to fight, to talk. She met with Admiral Bora and Captain Jinho Kim in a conference room overlooking Earth's blue oceans. We came to destroy you because we feared you, Quindara said. The prophecy warned us that humanity would threaten all galactic order. We spent 10,000 years training to fight you. And you defeated us in minutes. 5 minutes, Bora said. To be exact, 5 minutes, Quindara agreed. Do you know why you won? Jinho thought about it. Because we didn't know we were supposed to lose?